Coach Buddy Pugh's clothing is provided by Bill Owings Custom Clothing. Bill Owings Custom Clothing is a proud sponsor of the Buddy Pugh Show.
Florida A&M won the toss. They received to begin the football game, so we got the football to begin the second half, Coach. And I think more than likely you were a little disappointed with the way we opened things up in the second half.
We did. We went 3 and out at the very beginning, and we actually had a chance to make a play or two here. And, you know, I think we get it down to a second and short, but then we throw the football, don't quite get it, then don't really make a play. So then from that point, then we're a little bit behind the 8 ball, and I think our defense softened up a little bit too, trying to make sure they don't give up any big plays. So we ended up kind of being soft and not really getting as much pressure as we had early in the game.
Pulley with some discipline, staying in the pocket. They get down once again into the red zone, but folks, just like it had been all afternoon, South Carolina State's defense turned into a wall.
They stop them. I mean, we really do a nice job of stopping them in there. I see old Ronell Ferguson getting back in there doing a nice job, and David Irvis around. And then we almost get him here, but, you know, don't quite get him. They try to throw a little hide play, kind of a play that we ran against them a couple years ago, and then Phillip Adams blocks this thing. He does a nice job of just getting off the corner and running and putting his hands out, and I think David Irvis recovers.
Florida A&M kept the ball 5.5 minutes, got no points out of the deal, and then you turn it over to your offensive line and Will Ford.
Right, Will has a nice run here, and I think this might have been one of the runs that gets him over the hump as far as the rushing record is concerned.
Will Ford now the all-time leading rusher at South Carolina State. Nice run from Travell Jameson, draws a chuckle.
Except for the fact that, you know, that Travell just kind of runs out of bounds for no reason. I don't know exactly why.
But needless to say, it wasn't quite as long as runs as you saw there, but yeah. Florida A&M comes back on this possession. We'll talk about Will Ford again in a moment. Pulley down the field. This time Florida A&M's got their sights on getting some points out of this.
Yeah, they get some yardage here, and we're trying to get after them, but, you know, they keep finding some space here, and they end up getting it in for a touchdown.
Elliott on the reception from Pulley. Kevin Elliott, 14 yards from Curtis Pulley. It was a 4-play, 63-yard drive. It only took 1 minute and 22 seconds to make it 35-20. Back now, South Carolina State not able to move the ball. Florida A&M, but a big play for Antoine Carr, who had a good game on Saturday.
Antoine continues to play well, and he's gotten to the point where he's a dependable pass rusher, so we can always depend on him to kind of run around and try and chase quarterbacks down.
Now, this is what Pulley has done so far this year, hurting people, and South Carolina State comes up with a huge turnover.
I was worried about the fact that ball might have been out of bounds. It was right on the edge, but they gave it to us, and I'm happy that they did.
Two tight end formation, Will Ford again, and a big day for Will, Coach. 24 carries, 141 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's getting back to the Will we know.
Exactly, and you see a nice blocking scheme here. You see Josh Harrison and Javard Nathan really getting a nice push out front on that side.
I mentioned 140 from Will Ford. Travell Jameson, 13 carries, 52 yards, Coach, and that's your 1-2 punch.
And there's no doubt, and Travell is as tough as they come. And, you know, we go for it on 4th down here, ran the stretch play and didn't quite get it enough, but you know, we run the clock down to about 45 seconds from there, so we pretty much think we're in good shape.
Curtis Pulley back to pass for Florida A&M, and Donovan Richard, his 2nd interception of the game, and this has to be one of the most memorable games of his career.
I guarantee you it is, and I think he was going to pitch that ball there for a minute, but I think he saw those eyes on him and decided, you know what, I might not better do that.
And that was where the game ended on Saturday. South Carolina State at 35 points in the first half, enough to get it done. 35-20 over Florida A&M. Tail of the tape, and you look at the total offense, 370 for the Bulldogs, 355 for Florida A&M. But I think, Coach, one of the key stats that we really can't tell here is how you eliminated Florida A&M's special teams. Leroy Van, totally ineffective on Saturday.
I think that was as big a part as anything, and Coach Maurice Drayton and that whole crew, I think Coach Demetrius Davis and Howard Piggins, you know, all those guys. Mike Adams really worked hard on getting that punt team going. And, you know, the fact that we made them one-dimensional on offense, too. They could really throw it, but we took the run completely away from them. I think they only ran for about 35 yards. It's something that you can really look back on as the tail of the tape.
The YouTube sensation, Leroy Van, had 3 punt returns for 5 yards, 73 yards on 5 kickoff returns, as long as it was 18 yards. The Farm Bureau drive of the game happened on the very first possession of the football game for South Carolina State. After Florida A&M had gone down the field and scored, Coach, the pressure was on in front of the home crowd. Could you answer? And I think with an exclamation point, without a doubt.
We had a nice start of that drive. We had a little pass there to Matt Washington, and we get another pass to Trey Young, and You know, Trey gets a first down, and then we get the offsides play here and get another pass to Trey. So Trey was a basketball player in high school, so he can really leap. So we can always kind of throw it up and know that he's going to go up and make a play, and then Will Ford gets it in the end zone behind a real good surge with the offensive line.
The Farm Bureau Insurance drive of the game. South Carolina State, a huge one with Florida A&M, 35-20. We'll take a break here on the Buddy Pough Show. When we come back, we'll tell you what is up next for your South Carolina State Bulldogs.
Orangeburg area fans, join us at the All-Star Deli for the Coach Buddy Pough radio show every Thursday evening from 6 to 7. The show will be broadcast live on Old School 102.9 FM. You're invited to phone in or email your questions for Coach Buddy Pough.
All right, the Fats Facts from Fats Cafe, and you look at that score, not a good trip for Delaware State to Michigan. They get hammered 63-16. Speaking of getting hammered, Norfolk State putting it down on Hampton 46-6. Bethune-Cookman, a huge winner over Robbie Wills and Savannah State 34-24. And Howard on Thursday night losing to Morgan State 14-7. And of course, Coach, our win there. South Carolina State now tied with Morgan State once again, as it was last year. And you talk about the way the schedule works out, your thoughts right now on where we sit and what you need to do.
Well, we're in great shape now. We've got to continue to win. And, you know, we would like to continue to go up in the polls at this point. If you lose at this time of the year, you're going to have a pretty good fall. So, you know, we need to continue to play well. And we go to Hampton this week for their homecoming. And, you know, that'll be a tough affair. And I'm sure they'll really be spitting fire because of the fact that they play so poor at Norfolk. I can't believe that they lost 46-6 at Norfolk this past Saturday.
It was quite a win for the Norfolk State Spartans, of course, coming off that devastating loss to South Carolina State, in which a lot of people picked them to win that football game. That's going to do it for this edition of the Buddy Pough. South Carolina State, a huge winner over Florida A&M by a score of 35-20. We hope to see you next week as we venture up to Hampton, Virginia, to take on the Hampton Pirates. I think it is homecoming up at Hampton. And, of course, we hope to see you next week right here on the Buddy Pough Show.
Thank you for watching the Buddy Pough Show, featuring highlights of the defending MEAC champions, South Carolina State University Bulldogs. Our sponsors are State Farm Insurance, the South Carolina Education Lottery, Orangeburg County, Farm Bureau Insurance, the Regional Medical Center, Advanced Diagnostic Imaging Center, Palmetto Health, Wood Ash Furnishings, Fats Cafe, and Paragon Builders. Join us again next week for another edition of the Buddy Pough Show.